Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us this evening to celebrate the official launch of Resistance, Righteous Rage in the Age of Me Too, a poetry collection edited by Sue Goyette. My name is Nicole, and I'm part of the marketing team for the University of Regina Press. We'll start the evening shortly, but before we do, I wanted to address a bit of housekeeping. University of Regina Press is located on Treaty 4 territory, the traditional lands of the Niuwaq, Cree, Anishinaabeg, Saulteaux, Dakota, Lakota, and Nakota nations, and the homeland of the Métis peoples. The evening will begin with an introduction to the book from Sue Goyette, and will be followed by readings from several of the anthology's contributors. Throughout the evening, we welcome you to participate in the discussion in the chat below. However, please be mindful that we strive to facilitate the safest possible space for our authors and guests. Please show kindness and respect to everyone in attendance. Finally, a reminder that you can pick up your copy of Resistance at uofrpress.ca. That's uofrpress.ca. For those in attendance tonight, we have a special discount code for you. Use Resistance20, all caps, to receive 20% off Resistance. This code and a link to the book are in the description below. I'm pleased now to introduce Sue Goyette.
Welcome to the launch of Resistance. My name is Sue Goyette, and I'm speaking to you from Chibuktuk, the ancestral, unceded, and unsurrendered territory of the Mi'kmaq. Resistance is a collection of poets who have chosen to use their art to process an experience of sexualized violence and assault. The exportation of experience and reclamation of voice is crucial for the way it disrupts and names the rape culture that has become normalized and inherent in our society, and how making art can help us process and heal from experiences of traumatic violence. I'd describe this practice as a form of courage and survival, resistance. Sexual violence isn't about sex, it's about power. And the problem is the hegemonic patriarchal system that continues to objectify our bodies while dismissing the violence done to them. The impact this reality of violence is having on BIPOC women, children, and two-spirited LGBTQIA needs to be addressed. There are many voices we are not hearing from. I appreciate and am grateful for the courage and the patience of these poets you're about to hear, as well as the support of Kelly Laycock and Daniel Lockhart at University of Regina Press. I'm also grateful for the Dream Team at ZG Stories for organizing this launch. I urge you all to buy this book and share it with whoever needs the company of these poems. This is what change looks like. All of us contributing in whatever way we can, by writing and by reading, by sharing, by listening to the experiences we have in common. May these poems and their poets give you courage. We are a multitude, resisting, and once our experiences have been dignified by our voices, however that sounds or looks, once we feel the lightness and the relief of having borne and then disrupted our pain, there is no telling what else we can do. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, everyone. My name is Catherine Graham. I'm honored to be part of this anthology with all the other contributors. My thanks to Sue Goyette, the editor, and University of Regina Press. Some moments in childhood sear through us and never leave. This poem is titled Zipper. Spring meant paper-cut daffodils taped to the classroom walls. No crosses like at my best friend's school, where April heat prodded our backs towards the shortcut. Fresh kittens at our cousin's house, a nest of soft. When coming up the hill, pushing his 10-speed, even then I felt the sun twist round him, the plunge of my gut. He used his cycle to gate us, to block our path. Watched us slow, Stop. He checked. No one. The hill shadowed his dark. The fat tongue on his t-shirt eager for flavor, and beneath it, the growing pink he'd unzipped. No adults to pull us back, except this twist in the blood said, run. The mud soft sucking our shoes. Don't look, don't fall. She screamed between our broken breath. You asked, you touched. She ran, disgusting, straight into her cousin's house, while I stood chained to the sound of the lock, sliding time forward and back into place, like a zipper.
I would like to thank Sue Goyette and the University of Regina Press. And the title of this poem is Arcadia. The village green with a fountain for birds, and an elm whose trunk was wide as three children's embrace. Haven, for what time is it, Mr. Wolf? Later struck by lightning that split the tree in a forked way. In this village built for Westinghouse workers beside a dark woods, with wild strawberries in June springing up on the leafy floor, the factory's longhouse sided by railway tracks on one side, with farmer's field on the other side. So much to explore outside our number 6 door. My brother and sister walking home along the railway tracks from school brushed their hands against purple irises and bulrushes when I was too young to go. Most of my friends afraid of the woods, but I had walked there with my brother and learned to identify the white-throated sparrows, 4 pensive notes, followed by a quavering arpeggio to which we gave our own words. I knew the spring beauties, virginal white with a mauve-pink stripe, like a nuance of desire. Where to find the violets on the springy turf under mossy trees. Showed my best friend the trillium, 3-petaled, more strange than beautiful. We had learned not to pick. When on the other side of the ravine, in the middle of the woods, the water was knee-deep among the marsh marigolds. A man in black jacket standing there, calling us over. Bonjour, jeune fille. And my friend knew to flee. The stranger with greased hair and black leather coat picked flowers with me, and I was afraid to be impolite. I took flowers from him, tall as my big brother, but not him. When he crouched over to pick a spring beauty, his arms around my shoulders, I leapt out of his reach, ran with heart beating deep into the spring cold marsh, wading through the marigolds not yet in bloom, as he stumbled after me, swearing identifiable in any language. Pointed black shoes in the wilderness, so out of place, I thought, as I ran fast as I could through the thick of 100-year-old trees. At last, finding my way down the curved road that wound down to our house. My mother at the front door, angry, relieved, and angry again, and relieved. My heart still pounding, trying to explain what I didn't understand. She put me mud-smeared into the bathtub and washed me clean, but scrubbed so hard. Waited for my father and big brother to come back from looking for me. My friend had told her mother phoning mine. And so I worried too what it might have been that rubbed off on me from that goat-footed man wearing ballroom shoes. Thank you very much.
Hello and welcome. My name is Lori Mackey. I am one of several generations to overcome familial sexual assault at the hands of those closest to me. The hands that were meant to nurture and protect. For Lorvetta with sorrow honors all the women of my family and others I don't know of for their strength and their courage. It's my hope that resistance will help break the silence and gain the justice we deserve. For Lorvetta with sorrow, hush, baby, hush, when you climb the stairs up to Grandma's attic. A monster lives up there. I never knew he collected us, dollies splayed in naked rows, puppets on your string. That neighbor child, me, your niece, your own, precious morsels on display. Even now, must revives the memories, live on in murky spaces, cobwebs in the corners, bound inside dark places, shamed, untold, but not forgotten. I tried once, the system won, so hush, baby, hush, when you climb the stairs up to Grandma's attic. A monster still lives up there. Thank you, and thank you for watching.
Hi, I'm Catherine Greenwood, and my poem in resistance is titled Black Plums. Black Plums is a speculative poem written from the perspective of a child molester, and it dramatizes an incident in my childhood that I was too young at the time to properly comprehend. When I was older, I learned of other assaults by this uncle, and I had a frame of reference for the event's disturbing residue of impressions. The speaker in Black Plums articulates desire without moral context, except blame intended to silence his niece. Here, the speaker utters the same rebuke this uncle administered in real life to my older cousin. Look what you made me do. This man's offenses were an open secret in our extended family. He was simultaneously protected and ostracized by a collective silence that was rationalized in part by the supposition that to seek justice would hurt his family. Except for a sanctioned beating from the husband of a rape victim, to my knowledge, no legal or other interventions were ever attempted. The offender never got treatment for his compulsions or punishment for his crimes, and the survivors, muzzled by an unvoiced prohibition, received neither reckoning nor apology. Many thanks to Sue Goyette for including my poem in resistance and for her tenacity in seeing the project through, and my thanks also to the University of Regina Press.
Hi, my name is Kim Mannix. I live on Treaty 6 territory in Sherwood Park, Alberta. The title of my poem that is a part of this important anthology is Memory Resequenced. Sparks around the campfire, the shape of his jaw, a wood floor, the wetness between my legs. 2, 4, 6-pack of girls, prettier than me. His hands snapping, kindling. A mother, not mine, here for her daughter. Finally dark at 10, moon shadows. Fill me up, pour me out. Only the shape inside has changed. Behind us, someone sings, an owl.
Hello, my name is Danielle Wong. The poem that I submitted to the anthology is for my brother. He had a surgery where he had a 50-50 chance of surviving, and he did survive it, only to have to experience something horrific after that. The poem is called Teenager Robbed. He lay in bed recovering. He lay in bed dreaming. He lay in bed dreaming of his future. He lay in bed and woke up. He lay in bed, fists pummeling his diaphragm. He lay in bed, his clothes torn off. He lay in bed, hands yanking hard on him. He lay in bed screaming. He lay in bed begging to stop. He lay in bed crying. He lay in bed knowing. He lay in bed, this doesn't happen to boys. He lay in bed blaming himself. He lay in bed, he shouldn't be so weak. He lay in bed, he should have been able to fight. He lay in bed, he was so stupid. He lay in bed wondering what he did wrong. He lay in bed dreaming. He lay in bed, wanting. He lay in bed, beginning. He lay in bed, starting. He lay in bed to die. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Jessie Holt, and my poem is called Normalized. I wrote this poem in my mid-20s, and it's marked by uncertainty, hesitancy, and confusion. It comes from incidents in my own life that remained buried for many years, under my own consciousness and understanding. I think it was an attempt to take back a measure of control that was missing in these situations, and an exploration of why I perceived these incidents as normal or didn't think much about them, whether from internalized misogyny or outright denial. The poem is about the insidious nature of seemingly small acts of violation and coming to terms with how it's often those closest to us who betray that trust. I hope this collection gets us one step closer to changing the harmful way society accepts the commodification of our bodies. And here is a short excerpt from the poem. I don't know why they felt entitled to my body. Why no means yes. Why this is normal. Why I thought this is normal for so long. I don't think I'll ever know why. Thank you.
Six minutes of spring. You, middle-aged and married, wormhole eyes, oozing syrup smiles that make my stomach clench. Me, 20 and eager, fertile bud of spring, creating a grown-up name for myself, my career. You say, wanna feel like $1 million? I say, no, but I want to make $1 million. My false laughter fast walks me to your closed office door. I gasp for cool breezes of April to stroke my cheek. Instead, callous fingers clamp my shoulder, determined. You block my exit with your thigh and briefcase, push me down, and ignore my squeal. Foreign noise. Time now measured by the metronome hammer of my heart. Maybe yours. Hostile struggle on this rough-piled field of battle. How wrong you are. Your $1 million offer. With 6 minutes of defeat that steals my eager, ruins my spring, leaves me feeling like loose change dropped against a curb.
Hello, my name is Taryn Hubbard, and I'm joining you today from Maple Ridge, British Columbia, which is located on the unceded ancestral territory of Katzie First Nation and the shared territories of the Kwantlen First Nation. I'm very grateful to be here with you all today virtually. The poem I will be sharing with you, which is in the collection, is called Night Class, and it is about walking alone at night. Drudge street, dry ring, loose skirt, hem to finger tips affixed, fists ready. Flat and tatter city fragments, turn off earbuds, listen, hey, you. Zip up, step up, shoulders back toward beautiful enough, side swipe, shadow creep. Call your mom, Call your friend, call your wonder, listen to the tone, ask gently, how are you tonight? Jaywalk, sprint, cross, empty lot, look, then eyes forward. When the Buick slows, run. In tonight's class, you read of women in distress. Love, flames. On the radio, you learn anything can be a weapon, even your house key. Thank you very much.
As a young adult, I was sexually exploited by Father Lindo Molan in Kamloops, BC. This impacted my life profoundly, and it took me 40 years to come out about the abuse. Eventually, I filed a lawsuit, culminating in a 15-day trial in BC Supreme Court, ending in March 2020. The church argued because I was an adult at the time of the abuse, it must have been at least partially consensual, whatever that may mean. This was the first adult victim case in Canada involving Catholic clergy, and we won. I'm Rosemary Anderson, and my poem is called A Death So Close. I wish I could have told you, Mum, while you were still alive, what happened when I left for that new job right after Daddy died, so full of empty. How can it take so long, I asked the priest, for grief to fade? I'd never known a death so close before, I told the priest. Is it okay, he said, to hold your hand? Of course, I said, naive, unschooled, unbelieving priests could do such things. How could I not have known? How not have just said no and fled far fast, terror frozen in his murderous advance, no place to hide or run, no one to tell, no one to say who was wrong, who the victim wronged, no one to know. Till one day, breaking briefly free, I broke my secret to the church high priest, who told me if I stayed, they'd crucify me, till I became insane. 40 years condemned to my private hell, I went disgraced. The priest they sent to just another place. I wish I could have told you, Mum, before you passed away.
My name is Suzanne Wood. I wrote the poem the next day. During and after the Gomeshi trial, I was appalled to hear people around me making comments like, how do these smart women get themselves into these situations? And why do they wait so long to report it? Why are they crying rape after all these years? It was infuriating to me that people still don't understand why someone would be reluctant to report a sexual assault. It's not about intelligence. It's about trust, relationship, and the breaking of boundaries. I tried to explain to them, but they weren't listening. So finally, I took my rage to the page and put pen to paper, and I wrote the poem the next day. I wrote the ending of the poem first. It's about a true incident that occurred when I was a young girl. It's about something that happened to me. And then I constructed the rest of the poem, which is fiction to me, but I know it's occurred to many, many women, to try and explain why an adult, intelligent woman might be reluctant to report a sexual assault. The poem was easy to write, but it was hard for me to read after. It's still hard for me to read. And I really haven't told anyone that I wrote the poem. It's intriguing to me to think about that. Am I still feeling shame almost 50 years later after the incident happened? And yet, I did nothing wrong.
I Ache by Marula Blades. I've been aching since the day I was born, dropped bloody by a nurse in the hospital. My spine's crooked. I just miss being dense. My brother's good to me, talks to me, does. I've been aching since the day I was born. I asked my uncle if I was pretty. He said, let me feel you where you grow. Lord, you're pretty all right like a plump peach. I've been aching since the day I was born. Mama shoved me in the attic. Visitors came. I was scared. I was cold. I hate ebony spiders. I waved coldly to people's backs through the cracks. I've been aching since the day I was born. I asked a well-dressed priest, "Why is it so?" He said, "God works in mysterious ways. His ways are not our ways." I've been aching since the day I was born. Aches as I scrub Mr. Dixon's floor for coins. Aches as I wring Mrs. Bell's sheets for nothing. Battle aches as Joe touches me, his beast girl. Aches, one dull, heavy ache after another. Scaly hands, bent bones, nothing but gruel. I'm going to hang this ill-fitting skin out to dry. Go around bloody, doing carry takeoffs. I'm going to jump into the skin of a zebra, lovely like a Zulu shield, spear red sore with my breath, back strong against the brawny wind, eat plenty, stamp mangrove with my hooves. Free.
I'm Jill M. Talbot, and this is my poem, A Metaphor. A metaphor. I cannot tell you what happened because I was not really there, and he was wearing a mask. He was someone else, so really I knew we were just dreaming. And when the wine spilled, red soaking into the new carpet, it was just a metaphor on top of a metaphor. And the bruises would surely go away since it was all, we know, pretend. I played dead because no one really dies in a dream. And he nodded that he played the boogeyman because horror movies only live on the screen. And we'd forget until one day I was writing a letter, and the ink spilled out like blood, and his mask dissolved, and I was naked again.
My name is Cornelia Hoogland, and I'm delighted to be part of this anthology. It's important. My work is based on the fairy tale Red Riding Hood. It's in a book I published with Woolsack and Wynne in a few years ago. And it's interesting because my take on this whole topic is through the fairy tale in which the forest is inevitable. There are all kinds of forests, including in corporate wilds and institutions. Who is the wolf? In the Grimm's version, in The Meeting in the Woods, the wolf is not just a predator, but also a sexy educator who shows Red the world around her and says, "Don't be such a schoolgirl. Look where you are." This forked moment leads deeper into the woods, and it offers Red an opportunity to perceive the natural world, the sights, the sounds, the smells, the animal instincts that as a good girl she's been taught to disregard. Overriding her intuition proves particularly dangerous when she arrives at grandmother's house. She minds her manners as mother has instructed, to her peril. That girl in her story tight as bark to a tree, a fucked girl, a violated girl, a girl red with sex, a girl who asked for it, who suffered, who liked the way he looked, a hyphenated girl, a co-conspirator, a victim, a used girl, a useful girl, a commodity that sells. A wolf girl, a soul bird, a lamb, always more than these glimpses. She is a plot as liquid as mercury she pours from the broken thermometer and rolls in her palm. If there is to be a rescue, let her, in this dark moment, be it. Let her enter the forest, the better to see the depths she's being offered. Thank you.
Stealthily, while his breathing deepens, I practice opening and closing my throat for when the words come. If I could speak, for when I will speak. My jaw creaks on its wrenched hinge. His thumbs are imprinted on either side of my windpipe like black sentinels. For days, I wear a long turquoise scarf and go around pretending I am Isadora Duncan, pretending I can fly. Secretly, unwinding my scarf, I inspect the delicate progression of bruises. A circle of yellow surrounds the thumbprint. I think I can make out the actual whorls that are the perimeter. Black fades to purple, then softens to a yellowish center. In the mirror, that face that is not mine looks out at me from the telescope distance of time, wrinkled, thin, with the patience of years, her eyes clear and almost wise, assuring. She is somebody I will become, the face I will grow into someday.
Just before Canada Day, Honor drove Muhammad, the Crown alleges, father, son, wife number 2, to overkill. Daughters, sisters, auntie, wife number 1, bruise the voluptuous skulls, screw drugs between scarlet lips, drown and drown again. 4 freedom-loving women, treacherous whores, his words echo at the trial. Canada's citizens line up to have a view. Beautifully, Maclean's frames them, pierced and painted bodies stuffed in the black Nissan, bloated with family shame. Did any Montreal neighbor watching on TV, the monstrous mother in denial, whisper up at the torture house, "I wish I'd come over here once in a while"? Moist air hangs heavy, shimmers on Kingston waters. The body remembers. I am the age of Sahar, floating free. Once more I pull before dawn, short shorts and pop top over uncharted curves. Discipline the body I am barely learning to love. Head down past Frontenac County Courthouse, feet drumming cobblestones on Princess Street, thighs proud with blood, in time to watch the sun light on lapping rocks, hear the birds begin their warm-breasted catechism. One morning, a woman materialized under a waterside oak, poised on a flat-topped rock, blue hijab billowing. I snapped her photo, arrested the sublime, not knowing the power of the gaze. That was a crime.
Hi, I'm Susie Berg. I'm a poet who writes and lives in Toronto. The poem that I have included in this collection is called An Army of Staring Women, and it's on page 73. And if you take a look at the epigraph to it, you will see that it is compiled in part with words from Sue Goyette and friends. That's because during the Jian Ghomeshi trial, Sue offered a space on Facebook for people to share what they were feeling. And she was generous in offering the space, and people were generous in sharing what they needed to share, and they were generous with one another. And I was struck not only by the space, but I was struck by the way some of the lines themselves scanned as poetry. And so this first line, "My heart is sore, the way the women's testimonies have been left to stew, the private way they coped made public," read to me like the start of what I learned from Ellen Bass, and she attributes to Frank X. Gaspar as a long-armed poem. And it's a poem that is allowed to follow the meandering trail that it's following. With gathering all these voices, that felt really right to me. And the other thing that strikes me for myself about this poem is that I spent a lot of time working on the assonance and the sounds and the noise of the poem, specifically for that reason. And so the line that follows, "There is a great dishonoring, me wrapped in a skin stitched of pins, pricking like the first sweater I knit and insisted on donning, even though truth be told, it was nearly painful to wear." I'm really honored to be part of this collection. Thank you, Sue.
Hi, I'm Kyla Jamison. I'm a disabled poet who lives and relies on the unceded traditional territories of the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh nations, and I'm reading my poem, 5 parts rape poem, 1 part self-care. No better than to go out, If you do go to a friend's, don't wait for your boots to dry. They won't, and you can't lift the chill. If you try or wish or ask or insist, rain will fall. The mechanism is ambiguous. No one has studied it with Research Council dollars the way they have the pay gap or performance of gender. Even when the invisible becomes visible, the rain will still call you insane. Numbers are one thing, optics another. There are so few planes where they meet in the aisles and drink tiny bottles of booze. The flight attendant says aloha. The pilot rapes her later. What comes after a line with rape in it? I guess what comes after is what comes after. I've heard gossip saves and want to name all the sleazebags, probable rapists, the kind you might date. You accidentally say okay after they rape you, but also might not. It takes all kinds. Long list, short list, crown the rapist, but I'm scared. Plus, I've been such a bad girl. Like, already I've used the words rape and rapist too many times in this poem. It's 2016 and Gion's not guilty, but my credibility's shot. Hey, let's take a break. How are you feeling? Lately, I can't sleep. I put stones on my chest and try to remember Oregon coast, Pacific surf, sand-flecked wind, salting my body, spinning wildly, no one calling me crazy so subtly that even I and even you wonder, is she? Thank you.
My name is Heather Reed, and I'm going to perform The Power in a Name excerpts.
Did what you did to me. Did that to me.
There was no name for it then that didn't conjure blame of me when you did that to me. You did to me.
Did that to me.
A girl of 13 who befriended you, attention seeking, sweetly lost at sea. Grief. Her tiny power, wielded with eyeliner, but you took that away when you did that to me. You did that to me when you did that to me.
Did that to me.
Like plucking a flower who begins to wilt upon the plucking.
Did that to me.
And you oblivious in all your fucking. Oh, you did that to me. You did that to me. You did that, you did that, you did that to me. Dialogues open and never sated.
You did that to me.
The overturned beacons, the storms in their wake. Don't deny, don't be sly, don't be 19.
You did that to me.
I never came forward, and I couldn't see. Oh, you did that to me. You did that to me. Randy, I own it, and now you do too. And this is what you get when I speak your name for the magic that speaking will do. Thank you, everyone. Be well. Congratulations on being published in this marvelous collection. Very important collection.
My name is Dee Hobsbawm Smith, and my contribution to the Resistance anthology is titled A Consideration of the Bus Driver. She prefers to imagine him alone with his rearview mirror, rows of empty benches and all-seeing windows, bearing witness, his seat, a backless stool, its spring uncoiling, corkscrewed metal impaling him. This is the only form of punishment she has, all she can rely on to allay the way his hands unsheathed themselves, the coiling ligature of fingers, the lines they left along her throat and thighs. She sees the stool, a brushy spring motionless, its penetrating column emerging from his mouth, as justice she may never otherwise find. This poem appears in the Rage/Resistance section of the anthology, and I can tell you that I was a very angry woman for many years as a result of this. I was 19. It was 1977, Vancouver, And there was no possibility that I was going to go to the police, report this assault, because I didn't believe that justice would be done, and because I didn't want to subject myself to the humiliating process that was then the justice system, and still is in many ways the Canadian justice system. But one of the truths about this time was that women in particular were told, don't act this way, don't dress this way, don't go there. Remember that you are at fault. It will be your fault. And by the way, you're going to be responsible for your own safety. So at 19, after being assaulted, I learned karate. That was one way I learned to cope. There has to be a better way. We have to change minds and change attitudes, educate young boys, young girls, that we are all equal and deserving of justice and respect. Kudos to Sue Goyette.
My name is Ashley Elizabeth Best, and I'm reading my poem, The Maid and the Wolf. I'll fight with all I have. Time. I'm always of two minds about everything, incubating the idea of life between my hips, dividing cells satellite in unspilled blood, the soaking burrow of his hidden hoard. The truth is always terrible and boring. My regard is equal to my fear. When will someone notice my bravery and call it terror? Hair shackled to my throat, I am no longer those who see my pain. I'm a fire consuming all that came before me. In our lapsed understanding, the lines of his face read runic. To go wrong in one's own body, cast the wishbone of a bird, stencil your love's name on your breast, swan your way through the lunar wet. We are divided in this remembering. I exile myself from the burning church of the body. My bones fake the memory of flesh, offer their own confused eulogy.
Hello, my name is Keith Inman. The storyline for the rape of Lucia. The perpetrators have been preying on girls with single mothers because the crimes won't be reported. Joseph stands in as a father figure, trying to deal with justice the only way he knows how, which is what happens when a legal system backs away from dealing with crime. Society is left to figure it out. Aggression escalates. And in this case, Joseph will be the one going to jail, a peripheral victim. The rape of Lucia. Joseph bent to the fountain and let the cool water wash over his face. Behind him, the hard echoes of boys in a shower fogged the change room. Jay-Z and Billy turned rigidly under the fury of cascading water, their voices stifled in heat. Joseph heard his sister's name. He spat into the drain, beads dripping from his forehead, and stood upright. Jay-Z smiled at him. The horde churned in red laughter. Joseph strode across the wet floor to the toilets and stabbed each silver handle along the outside shower wall, each porcelain lung choking with rushing water from the main feet above. Steam billowed into the tiled hall. "Fuck, cocksucker," screamed the boys as Joseph sat on the bench, the towel twisting in his hand, and waited. Thank you very much.
Hello, this is Keir. The poem I'm going to read is dedicated to family members and other supporters of survivors of sexual assault. The claiming in the poem is made easier by the fact the person in the poem returned home to apologize to his victim shortly before his death. It's called Claiming My Brother's Body. I should have come yesterday, but I am here today instead, while my children sleep in their shared bed, their door shut. I would have come 2 years ago, but our sister was visiting then and needed to settle things at last, though some things can't be settled, so you just let them go. But how can you tell? They could always come back. That's what she said. A year ago, Graham told me the way it was with him. I already knew. So what difference does it make? He buried a daughter the year we buried you. He never speaks of her. That was a long time ago. I was down east and couldn't come home, so I walked the way you and I used to walk, for miles and miles, and when I found my way back, it was as if I'd been gone for a long time with no forwarding address. Where I am now, the blinds are made of paper, rose-colored. Here's the album with your obituary, the letter Bev wrote because you were still in hospital and weren't well enough to write. With my brand new sense of responsibility and graduate degree, I said I'd come west in the summer, but too late. I had to borrow money to fly out to your funeral in February. Our family stayed in a hotel. No one came to see us. We went out for supper, and Graham ordered cheap Portuguese wine, which was funny because the waiter brought a tasting glass. The technician at the morgue said you were killed instantly and couldn't have suffered. But how can anyone know a thing like that? For 10 years, we hardly spoke. But your voice is with me. The doggerel you recited in the top bunk on 26th Street, the predictable meter honed with the vanity that helps me remember. I am taller than you. I have a picture. No scar on your forehead yet, only the blur of a gesture as you leaned forward in the olive sweater you wore when you left. Wore on the day you stepped onto the road in the rain. At last I have come. It is slow work learning to see inside your body, the shattered spleen, the rib that caved in your lung, and our old friend, the wrong left between us.
My name is Emma Lee, and I'm going to read my poem from the Resistance Anthology. Not even trees should grow there. How long do buildings retain the sounds they absorb? No matter how well bleached the floors are underneath new carpets, how sugar-soaked the walls beneath new wallpaper, even when former furniture and linen were taken and burnt, the echoes linger under the plaster. Tourists are tempted by a forest lodge, walks in the woods, fresh on-site facilities, a break from the bustle of town. Their government insists nothing happened here. An empty building has been brought back to life to bolster a burgeoning industry. Neighbours over a new country border argue the site should be raised, that not even trees should grow there, their greenery a betrayal. The moaning the guests hear is not due to the wind. The sob is not a floorboard settling. That scream is not air trapped in a water pipe. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Katrina Naomi. I'm speaking to you from Cornwall in the UK. The title of my poem is The Way the Crocodile Taught Me, which is the title poem of my second full collection here, published by Seren in the UK. And I'm delighted that it's in Resistance here, published by Sue Goyette, edited by Sue Goyette. Thanks very much. The Way the Crocodile Taught Me. I swooned at the large god of him, sunning, a tooth for every day of my life. He performed his run along the bank, as males do. I brought my boat closer. He took to following, at a distance. I wasn't taken in, knew his four-chambered heart, pumped love out and in and out. Knew his tongue had few good uses, knew all about his grin. Yet whoever said he was cold-blooded has never truly known this beast. He brought out the prehistoric in me. I dived. We swam belly to where the Niles meet, tussled as we threshed among the weeds. After, I lay the length of him, a limestone lilo, studs patterning my skin. He smiled at me, often, taught me all he knew. Years later, when a man tried to drag me under, I practiced the force my lover had held back, levered my small jaws open to their furthest extent, splashed them down on the human's arm. My attacker still carries the mark of my smile. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Polly Johnson, and my poem Molly is about how more than one person is harmed by assault and abuse. What do we do when we are told what has happened to someone else when we find out? What we feel is rage that has no outlet and can't be expressed, especially when you're trying to listen to somebody else. In the end, all we can do is carry on with life, drinking tea, going to work, planting daffodils, while all the time burning up inside with a fire that seems to eat up all the good things. In the end, my conclusion was, as I said in my poem, there is no justice. There's never just one victim. But here is this cake, and we eat it.
Hello, I'm Donna J.A. Olson, an award-winning author from Northern Alberta. In my poem, Not Guilty, I wanted to portray the rage and pain that this victim would feel. Having had the courage to come forward, only to go through the trial and telling the truth, and to have a judge and jury come back with a verdict of not guilty. All eyes were on me, all of them judging and cruel. They were all hoping that I would screw up and flee, just wanting it done and to hear the judge's rule. They call my name and I start trembling in fear. I feel that I am to blame, since I am the whole reason we are here. I take the stand and swear in my oath. In a trembling breath, I tell them all that I know. The hateful words and touching that I loathe, the violation that my body still showed. The whole time he sat with a smirk, a knowing in his eyes of everything that I told. The outside was just a facade of the monster that lurked, but it was an act that he completely sold. I could tell by the faces gathered that believed in him and not me. My whole world seemed to completely shatter when the verdict came back, not guilty.
Hi there, I'm Jamie McCarty, and I'll be reading my poem Autumn in the East, the pilot, from this courageous anthology, Resistance. Autumn in the East, the pilot. Not sky, but blue as in bruise. Oak leaves, maple leaves, bird groundward. Her face of future plum mulch, eyes swollen shut. The birds forage, the leaves molder. Fields brittle, air hoarfrosts. Geese less than south. Bread toasts in the small oven with a family of ducks painted on it. After she asks a question, she sees his hands thrust, throttle her throat. She pitches, drops altitude. His rudder input keeps her flying straight ahead. Forward force into the kitchen wall. His dream sends a boy to be a pilot. He was, for American. Her daughter makes the correction. She formalizes complaints with the airline, the pilots' union. She causes him to lose his captain's stripes without concern for his future, without regret.
The first two sections of Wreaths by Amy Sonu, after George Herbert. Today my daughter testified de raptu meo concerning my rape, bore witness to the truth of that to which she testified, from Latin testes, root of testicles, in the vernacular cojones, nads, balls, boys, and stones. And though she swore by none, no man or boy has called to lend her one. Her one great role, played by so many stars, most cast for just one night, for one night stands, no second or third trial, trying under pressure to say what's right. The right to silence generally conferred on us, conferred on her, an onus to speak up and stanch those tears behind her words could stanch. It's all obscenely trite, to write a scene cribbed from a screen that writes itself repeats and magnifies the harm, not hurt, it took some balls to do. Cecilia Champagne played her role, no balls, but balls enough to testify that Chaucer the couplet man, did take by force what she alone might give and never have again. Released, he sent Cecilia 10 pounds. 10 pounds Cecilia gained for having stones. Chaucer's stones lie now in Poet's Corner. In Poet's Corner, cannons dust his stone, and those of lesser English poets whose voices dropped a pitch at 12, and who, by 12, knew honesty by tone of voice. The men who hear it know it. I know what silence in a church won't say which of these poets, pens at rest, penises dust, rests easily in such a place, placed as they are so close to Geoffrey Chaucer, the couplet man, stone silent, now as then.
Hi, I'm Deirdre Maltzett. My poem is Annabelle by Declan Kent, another of my personas. My belle once wrote that the road was iron dark, that the sky pulsed and shimmered. She was surprised at the sizzle of her wisdom. To not love is dangerous. She thought only of me. She only thought of me. Her songs poured out lustrous, glossy. She would write of the lips of the lily. She would write of clean, foaming, green, cresting waves that are me, who are me, swimming to her freckled skin. She typed her poems on onion skin paper, raised letter cuneiform and double X's over it past. She would not let me decipher. Sometimes she went that way, anagramming, veiling, layering, leaning away, leaving me in ruins before building me home again. She didn't have to serve you after closing or listen to your smoke on the water clunky charm. She could have flung you away faster, but she quailed, could not get a purchase on your tight cowboy shirt, its opal snap buttons. You tab learning, America hick, huckster, taker. If you wanted to bayonet her with a treacherous message that is unsought, that she's unsought, unsung, you did. If you wanted to be a black sky blade, severing stars her spark, you were. Sludge seeps through this tragedy house, ruining memory and solace. She harrows her own heart, regrets, replays. You did, you were. You even knew her name. She stays in, she stays down, her eyes dirt dampened, but I'm here too. I say, bite the sweet peach, love evolve, smell the garden danger flowers. Day by day, I say, lilies, I say, sing, oh, Anna, Anna, L, the bell peal of her name. Here comes her song. She breathes out and heals the sky. She's at last the sun coming free, a rage, brightening, crackling, that won't save loves new and old from the rift she will make in the world. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Ruth Daniel, and I'm honored to be a part of Resistance Anthology, a book I wish wasn't so necessary, but is. Thank you to everyone who's made it possible. My poem is called Love and Nintendo. Home for Christmas, I tell my brother as little as I can. He raped me. I just wanted you to know now. A video game on pause on the basement TV, colors muted. It won't occur to me until later that it was several Christmases ago that it happened. My first homecoming from university, what might have been the first of many long-distance relationship reunions, and what was, instead, well, what it was. I don't know the exact date. Don't want that kind of anniversary in my head. It'd be worse than remembering that first boyfriend's birthday each year. I don't want, also, my brother to think differently about me now. Though, I know he will. He hides his face with a pillow. Do you have any questions? He doesn't. He sets the pillow back down on the couch. We unpause the game. The TV colors brighten. We take turns being Mario. It'll be ages before we run out of lives. Thank you.
My name is Denise Leduc, and I have the poem 1 in this anthology. I'm just going to begin by reading you just the first 8 lines of the poem. Once it was 1 in 4. Now I've heard it is 1 in 3. I wouldn't be surprised if someday soon it becomes 1 in 2. I am the one. Some it damages. Others it destroys. All it scars. I am one of the ones. This is actually the first poem I've ever submitted for anything, so I was absolutely astonished when it was accepted for this anthology. When I received a copy of the book and read the foreword and the poems from all the other wonderful poets, I just couldn't believe that I was included in this project and was so humbled. When I approached the writing of the poem, I just aimed to be very raw and authentic, to explore the frequency with which this occurs, the damage it does, but also the resilience that we have, how we don't need to let this define us and define our lives. And I wanted to end my poem on a hopeful note.
Hello, this is Kim Payne, and this is my poem, Unite. I hope that you enjoy hearing this as much as I enjoyed writing it and being a part of this experience. Unite. I am worthy. I deserve respect. I demand respect. When I cannot speak, my sisters will speak for me. When you try to tear me down, my sisters will work to tear you down. I have a voice, the voice of my sisters. I have the right to be pretty, to put on makeup, curl my hair, wear high heels. This is not an invitation to be disrespected, for you to use me as you wish. I will demand respect. My sisters will demand respect. Our voices will echo, and we will be heard. Thank you all very much.
Hello, I'm Karen Clark, Senior Acquisition Editor at University of Regina Press. And on behalf of the University of Regina Press, I would like to extend my gratitude, our gratitude, to Sue Goyette and to all the contributing authors of Resistance. It has been a meaningful and a profoundly impactful anthology for University of Regina Press to be a part of. We come from Treaty 4 territory, the lands of the Nehiyaw, the Saulteaux, the Nakota, Dakota, Lakota peoples, and the traditional homelands, too, of the Michif Métis peoples. And this anthology has been a long time coming, and so again we extend gratitude for not just the courage but the patience of Sue Goyette and the authors. And I also I do want to say on behalf again of the staff at University of Regina Press, Kina Nas Komitin, to those other teachers we've had during this process. I want to extend great thanks and gratitude to Erica Violet Lee, Nikita Longman, Lindsay Knight, Knight Canistino, Don Dumont, Sylvia McAdam, for also guiding us along the way during this process. The book is available now at U of R Press. The discount code is Resistance20. With great respect and gratitude to all of you, thank you for attending the launch.